Local history. Local culture. Local events. Your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
And welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for joining us. The guest today is the Oneida County Sheriff, Rob Maciol. He's been sheriff, if I recall correctly, since 2011, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good.
Yep, finished year 13. Now we're starting year 14.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, it blows my mind.
Yeah. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Who is the longest serving sheriff?
Sheriff Bill Hasnauer. I believe Sheriff Hasnauer was in office for just under 18 years.
Jeez, I didn't realize he'd
And
been
behind him was Sheriff Middaugh with 16 years.
there.
And prior to Sheriff Hasnauer, because he served earlier, ahead of, or served before Sheriff Middaugh. Prior to Sheriff Hasnauer, most sheriffs were in office for 4 years or less. Early on, there was a lot of one-year appointments. Sheriff's office was formed in 1798. Mm-hmm. The first sheriff served one-year terms. Not sure why. I'd love to know why. I mean, that's one of my goals here is to learn the history of the different sheriffs. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at them, because we have a plaque on our wall in the office that lists them all in the years. And a couple times, a couple of the sheriffs came back later in life to serve again.
I saw that, yeah.
And then for a long time, the term of office was 3 years statewide, and then it changed to 4 in modern times, and that's kind of why it's all over the place. But
Yeah, and something else I was looking at that list the other day. Something else I noticed that some sheriffs had one undersheriff, and some sheriffs had two undersheriffs.
And then for a while, the sheriff would make his choice. He would oversee. Some sheriffs oversaw the law enforcement division, and they let their undersheriff run the jail. And vice versa. Some sheriffs ran the jail and the undersheriff ran the law enforcement division, the deputies out in the community. And now our operation has gotten so big, just because of changing times. Neither I nor Undersheriff Joe Lacey would be able to run either division by ourselves. We have the place it's big. I mean, like I said, the first sheriff he was by himself and he rode a horse.
Was that Colbreth?
Colbreth. He rode a horse and had 2 jail cells. Fast forward to today, we have 632 jail cells. We don't have any horses at the moment, hoping to get them back soon. But we have about 100 vehicles in our fleet, and it's not just the sheriff. I am one of 540 people that work at the Oneida County Sheriff's Office. So it's definitely grown over time.
And how does it break up between road patrol and corrections and civil? How does that all break up?
We have 3 divisions. Corrections is our largest. Using round numbers, somewhere around the 300 mark between correction officers, supervisory staff, support staff. Then you probably have about another 150 in the law enforcement division. Our civil division, probably 30 or so. And then we have our school security unit, which is our largest single unit outside of corrections. We have about 115 part-time retired deputy sheriffs, police officers, troopers, parole officers, probation officers, a wealth of different career areas that they've retired after a career in law enforcement, and they've come to work for us. And they handle school security in nearly a dozen schools in Oneida County. I think we are in 40 different posts per day, every day, keeping the community, the children in our community safe.
Are these armed?
They are armed. They wear the same exact uniform. Their patch is a little bit different, and obviously their badge has the right title on. But looking from a distance, or if you didn't work for the sheriff's office, we all look the same. Everybody wears the same basic uniform. But they are armed. They're trained in a multitude of areas, and their goal is to keep our schools and our children safe.
Is this what they used to call school resource officers?
We also have school resource officers. We have school resource officers in 3 different districts. There's a difference. An SRO, a school resource officer, they obviously are providing an armed presence in a school, but their main focus is to work with the kids. Maybe some kids want to learn about the career, some kids who might be on the wrong path. They might meet with them and talk to them, get them on the right path so they make good decisions. They'll talk about stranger danger at Halloween time, or prom time. They'll talk to the older kids about, not texting and driving. So school resource officers also act as like a counselor or a mentor. Special patrol officers, our SPOs that I just mentioned, their sole purpose is security. We would love to continue the SRO program in its original format, but since all the school shootings around the country, the one that kind of really made everyone turn our focus a little bit, was the Parkland shooting in Florida. And at that point, a lot of focus shifted on keeping the students and the staff and the building safe and secure. Unfortunately, we just don't have the staff to do both. So we try to give each school district exactly what they're looking for. And some we have a blend of. Some of the districts, they have both SROs and SPOs. So, you take like Westmoreland School District, they have both. So they're getting both types of service from us. Some of the other schools, we'd strictly do straight security at.
Is the DARE program gone? Is that, you don't
DARE
hear
program
much?
still exists. We don't have it here in Oneida County anymore. That went away. I've been the sheriff, like I said, starting my 14th year, but probably went away 16, 17 years ago. I was a former DARE officer when I worked at the Whitesboro Police Department. I taught DARE in the Whitesboro Central School for 6 years. It's a great program. The issue with any of these programs is funding, staffing, follow-up. I mean, I taught DARE to the 6th graders, but unfortunately there was no follow-up after that, in middle school and high school. And I think to be completely effective, you got to continue that message. So unfortunately, with staffing and finances today, we have to prioritize various things.
For those who don't remember or never knew what DARE was.
Drug Abuse Resistance Education. It was a multi-week program. Originally came out as like a 16-week program. It was modified, I think, down to an 11-week program. But we basically taught kids foundational life things, and it was all based around saying no to drugs, saying no to destructive decisions and things like that, saying no to peer pressure, important things. And I see DARE kids today that I taught. Actually, I have a couple working for me too, but I see some out in the community, and they're in their 30s now, and they were my student when they were 11 and 12. So I mean, that makes me feel real old. But on this job, 35 years, so it definitely. It's gone by fast. It's been an awesome career.
Started in, if I recall my history correctly, started in New York Mills
Mills.
An officer, and then Whitesboro PD, and then...
In between, I did a little short stint at the town of Whitestown Police, but then did most of my career at Whitesboro Police, and then shifted to the Sheriff's Office.
When we come back, we're going to talk to Sheriff Rob Maciol about the snowmobile program that the Sheriff's Office runs. We'll also talk about the new cameras on school buses, speaking of schools. Short break, right back. And welcome back to the show, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Oneida County Sheriff Rob Maciol is our guest, and he's in charge of the big office of sheriff. And we say office because it's not a department, it's an elected office, oldest elective office in Oneida County, yes?
It is, in our governmental structure in the country, too, believe it or not.
And you were reelected last when?
It would have been, so I run in even years, so it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
You had a press conference the other day, as you do every year, about snowmobiling.
Yes.
And you're trying to get a message out at that press conference.
Yep. We have a press conference. It's an annual tradition we started because snowmobiling in Oneida County is a big hit. It's a very popular sport. It's great for the economy. We have a great region. Obviously, it's a beautiful place if you like the winter. And we found over the years, I mean, our snowmobile trail system in Oneida County, there's 650 miles of groomed trails in Oneida County, multiple snowmobile clubs that oversee these trails, all volunteers. They do an amazing job. But 90%, if not more, of the trails are on private property. And without the private owners, the private property owners, the trail system wouldn't exist in our county. So we continuously get complaints from landowners where the trails go through their property of loud exhausts. Some people modify the exhaust on their snowmobiles to make them very, very loud. And when they're out there at 2 in the morning, it makes people unhappy. A lot of speeding. Sometimes we deal with operating snowmobiles while intoxicated. And then obviously the biggest thing is people don't always stay on the trails. They'll go off the trail systems. They see a wide open field. They'll zip across the field so they can go real fast. They don't realize that underneath that snow is some type of crop for a farmer, a winter cover crop or something. So people just disobeying the marked trails. So we try to get out there each ahead of each season, get our public service announcements out there, stress to the people how important it is to work with the landowners, respect the landowners. If you're going to stop and have a lunch on the trails, make sure you take your garbage with you. We deal with those calls a lot. But we cannot stress enough that the trail system in Oneida County is only here because landowners let that happen on their property. And each of the snowmobile clubs, each year we go around to a different club. This year we held our press conference at the Oriska, it's called the Oriska Snowmobile Club, Oriskany. They have a trail system through Oriskany. If you look at the state snowmobile map, it's amazing how these clubs are all networked together. You can travel across the entire portion of our state on a snowmobile trail system. It's really neat sport.
And you have snowmobiles at the sheriff's office?
We do. We have 4 snowmobiles. We have deputies who are assigned to other things primarily, but they also get cross-trained in snowmobile patrol work. And on their days off or overtime details, we will put we try to get both teams of sleds out every weekend and during the week when we can, handle it with staffing. Weather permitting, obviously we don't have a lot of snow. I mean, we did get a burst of snow several days ago, and then obviously then the rain comes. We go back and forth. So you have to check with each individual snowmobile club to ensure their trail system is open. And like I said, if the trail system's not open, please don't use that trail system because it's just going to upset the owners. And all it takes is a phone call from an owner to the snowmobile club and say, I don't want it on my property anymore. And we don't want that to happen.
And that has happened. I've seen that happen.
Unfortunately, it has.
Yeah.
And typically it's because, and it's not the folks from around here. It's typically we get out of town people, which we welcome in, but you'll get people from other parts of the state or from other states who come up for our great snowmobiling season, and they don't always follow the rules, and that sometimes causes a problem for us.
You mentioned drinking. Is the DWI laws the same as operating a motor vehicle as it is a snowmobile?
Well, obviously very similar consequences, but you don't have a driver's license. You don't need a driver's license to operate a snowmobile, so it is a little bit different. It's the paperwork that's done is a little bit different, but it still carries significant consequences. The other thing, if we recommend everyone get a snowmobile safety course taken, at the beginning, at least once in their career of operating a snowmobile. But the law basically mandates that if you're between the age of 14 and 17, I believe, and you're going to operate on lands other than your own or your family's land, then you need a certificate. If you're under the age of 14, obviously. We recommend that everyone get them. But again, you're mandated if you're going to be operating without adult supervision for those folks that are between 14 and 17 years old. And we offer those courses every year. You can also get them through several other sources. But if you go to our website at the Sheriff's Office or our Facebook page or Instagram or X, I want to keep saying Twitter or X, we've got all the links on there for folks to get it through that way.
You mentioned your website. I was looking at it. It's a new website.
It's a brand new website. We haven't put a public release out yet because we're still fine-tuning things. So we've got people looking on, and I encourage your viewers, jump on our website. It's Oneida County Sheriff, all spelled out, .us. And if you see any concerns on the website or any suggestions, feel free to let us know. And like I said, we want to tweak everything before we officially make it the official website.
And I'm thinking back to the old website, there's a lot more on this
There is
website.
a lot.
Yeah.
And again, our goal here is to build a transparent, positive relationship with the community. We have an awesome relationship with this community, but we can always build on it. So you'll find policies on the website, our body cam policy, our drone policies, use of force. There's various policies for the correctional side of the operation. Again, we want to be as open and transparent as we can with the community.
One of the policies on there was pursuit.
Pursuit.
What is the policy for pursuit?
We don't do them. Obviously, there's a few exceptions. I've been a police officer for 35 years. I've been involved in pursuits. I've seen a lot of pursuits. I've followed various pursuits that happen around the country in the news. I can tell you this, it's rare that a pursuit ends on a positive note. Typically, someone gets hurt, cars get damaged. Tragically, people can get killed in pursuits, and many of the times from the stories you read around the country, it's people who have nothing to do with the pursuit. So for us to get involved in a pursuit, there's only a very small number of crimes, very violent crimes, when we know that if we don't catch that person, the community is at risk, imminent risk or harm from that person, then obviously we will do what we have to do to catch them. But like the old days, I'm just not a big pursuit guy because not much comes out of them.
What about another policy on the website is the body cam? What's the policy there?
So our body cameras, both worn on the patrol side, the law enforcement side, and in not all of the correction side, but in much of the correction side. Two different policies because there's two different applications. But for a police officer, when obviously they wear body cams, they're in a ready mode at all times. But when one of our deputies receives a complaint on the radio when they're in the car, they answer up and they turn the body cam on. So not only are we getting them at the scene, but we're also getting them driving to the scene. The reason we do that, especially on a very intense call or a high priority call, your adrenaline's flowing when you're a police officer, and the last thing you're going to remember to do is to activate the body cam. So our policy is we're turning it on before we get to the call, so they don't have to worry about that. And the way a body cam works, like I said, it's always in the standby mode, and when you activate it, it actually backs up 30 seconds, and that's where the footage begins. So you will get it. But we want to caution people. It's one body camera. So, it's easier for us when we're trying to review something after the fact if there's multiple officers or deputies or troopers with body cameras. When it's just one, you're only getting what that one officer or deputy or trooper is seeing. You may not see the other surroundings. So even, they're good. I mean, they've definitely helped a lot of law enforcement members. They're great to have in court. When someone makes an accusation against a police officer, we can quickly see if it's legitimate or not. I mean, it's an awesome tool.
Well, speaking of cameras, cameras are now on school buses. When we come back, let's talk about that and how that's affecting life. Rob Maciol's our guest. He's the United County Sheriff. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Rob Maciol's our guest. He's been the United County Sheriff since 2011. We're talking about various issues, including cameras on school buses. It's pretty new.
Yes.
What's the effect of this been?
It's an exciting project because we've always known this was a problem. I've talked about this year after year, but when I first heard the statistic, and I'm using an average number, but in New York State alone, 50,000 school buses are passed a day in New York State a day, 50,000 a day. You can't even imagine. I mean, I said to myself, that's not even true. It can't be true, but it is. And when I look at our local numbers, you can see how that's true. Obviously, it's population driven, so downstate carries most of those numbers. But we recognized this as a problem a long time ago. And we consistently were getting complaints from school districts, from parents, from school bus drivers. But under the old system, or the current system, I guess, because we can still utilize it, there's a section in the traffic law for someone who passes a stopped school bus. The consequences are significant, but the issue is we have to either witness it ourselves, or the bus driver would have to get enough information, getting the plate number, getting a description of the driver of the vehicle, and then we'd have to track them down after we get a statement from the bus. Well, that's changed. In 2019, just ahead of COVID, New York State Legislature passed a law which allowed municipalities to put cameras on school buses, and if we captured a school bus getting passed, we would actually be citing, with a civil penalty only, the registered owner of the vehicle. So we didn't really care who was driving. We just want to capture the plate number. So that law changed in 2019. Myself and the county executive quickly jumped on that opportunity to get that in Oneida County, but like I said, then COVID hit. So we went into a holding pattern for several years. Last year, we were able to go through the process. A local law had to be passed pursuant to what the state was saying we had to do. And it allowed us to reach out to every school district in the county, in our case, with the exception of the Utica School District. Because of their size and population, they would have to enact their own local law, and we didn't have jurisdiction to go within the city under the way this law was written. So we reached out to every school district in the county. So far, 8 school districts have taken advantage of our opportunity to put cameras on the outside of their bus. There's no cost to the school district. The fine that we are able by law to put on each violation pays for the cost of the camera. It also gives the vendor their profit, and then Oneida County receives a portion of the fine money back into the general fund, because I have one person at my office who administers this program. So basically the way it happens, when a car passes, when the arms come out on the school buses, activates the camera. If the camera captures a pass, it sends an email. I'm simplifying the process, but it sends an email to my office. I have a member of the sheriff's office who every day checks their email once a day. They witness the violation. If in fact it is a violation, they sign off on it. That triggers the vendor to send a ticket to the registered owner of that vehicle. Everything's linked together with the Department of Motor Vehicles. So to date, we have 8 school districts involved in the program. We have about 180 cameras on buses within those 8 school districts. We began the program officially during summer school, but technically it kicked off in September. Since school began, to date, we have issued 402 tickets as of yesterday to people who have passed stop school buses in Oneida County. And that, like I said, that sends a fine to the registered owner, and it's a $250 fine. If they want to contest it, they certainly can. But on the ticket, when you get the ticket, you'll find a link on there. You can actually go to the website. You can view yourself passing that stop school bus. We even give you the evidence right there on the ticket. It's an effective program.
Are you surprised at the number?
At the number. I'm shocked. And what it also does is gives us hot spots in the county. Some districts have significantly more numbers than others, and it's not always the bigger district. There's one district which is tiny, and in comparison to the bigger districts, they have way more school buses being passed. So we got to try to figure out why. We know the roads, we know the times. You know, is it the width of the road? Is it you know, it gives us a lot of data that we can start to look at.
Is this you said 108?
180 cameras currently out on school buses.
Is this going to expand?
We hope to get it in every school district. Currently, and I do have a cheat sheet here because I don't want to miss the districts, but currently we have cameras on buses in Holland Patton, New Hartford, New York Mills, City of Rome, Sequoia, Waterville, Westmoreland, and Whitesboro. So there's 3 or 4 additional districts, and we're hoping they get on board too. Because again, at the end of the day, it's not about making a profit. It's not about making money. It's about keeping our children safe. And I can do this with little to no manpower. the cameras capture doing all the work, and I have one person who witnesses in an email, signs off on it, and that sends the ticket to the registered owner.
And in those school districts, excuse me, the school districts that you mentioned, not every bus in that district.
No, it's their choice, the school districts, and I know a couple of them have already added buses, added cameras to their bus fleet, because they know these transportation supervisors do an amazing job. They know the hot spots. They know, so the way it started is, because again, this was new for everybody, they put the cameras on the buses that they felt would be most effective, and then obviously we're building upon this.
So you think that's not only is going to be more school districts, but more buses in the district
Yes.
that you already have?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
What is the upcoming new year looking like for the Sheriff's Department?
Well, obviously, we're always looking at ways to build our relationship with the community. We have a phenomenal working relationship with the City of Utica Police Department. As you know, they've been dealing for several years, like every other city in this state and country, dealing with some gun crime. So we're trying to work with them. Obviously, we still have one unsettled contract within the Sheriff's Office, our Road Patrol Division. They've been working without a contract, and I really hope we get that settled, because that's extremely important to obviously pay our people so that we can retain them. We can do better at recruiting. We can be more competitive with other agencies surrounding us. So obviously that's a priority. Again, working together to keep our community safe. That's
Still
what it's all
looking
about
for
at the end of
people
the
for
day.
corrections?
We are. We have about 80 or so full-time openings in the correctional facility, and obviously we have additional openings on the road patrol, and continuous recruitment happens all the time. Again, our website, Facebook, Instagram, X, you can find out information if anyone wants to join our family at the Sheriff's Office. It's a great career. It's extremely rewarding. There's not a day that goes by that you can't make a positive difference in someone's life doing this job, and that's why I love it. And if you like challenges, we have tons of challenges, and I can tell you in my 35 years in law enforcement, not one day has ever been like the day before. So it's always different, and that's what's exciting.
Always good seeing you.
Same here. Thank you very much.
That's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next week. We'll do it all again. Don't forget cnyhomepage.com. There's a lot of good stuff there. Until next time, take care of yourself, everybody.